You know those rare freeze-frame moments in NBA history where literally the entire league just stops and stares? Well, we just had one of those. Welcome to This Explainer, where we are breaking down LeBron James's absolute shockwave of a move to the Philadelphia 76ers. It's a totally unprecedented shift that has completely shattered and reshaped the Eastern Conference. It's created a brand new championship hierarchy, and we're going to map the whole thing out right now.
Like the quote says, a superstar changing teams is way more than just a transaction. LeBron joining the Sixers isn't just a quick roster update, it's the catalyst for an entirely new chapter in basketball history. It fundamentally alters the gravity of the league. Every single contender in the East now has to react, adapt, or frankly, get left behind in the dust.
Let's dive right into archetype number 1, the ultimate gamble. This is Philadelphia's championship mission. The Sixers have essentially thrown all their long-term strategies out the window for this massive, high-stakes, win-now gamble. And it all really comes down to this number, 22 plus. That is over 2 decades of invaluable, pressure-tested championship experience that LeBron brings to the table. He has literally seen every defensive coverage in existence. The Sixers already had MVP talent in Joel Embiid, plus explosive scoring in Tyrese Maxey, but they desperately lack that unspoken, slow-the-game-down IQ for when playoff panic sets in.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the terrifying contrast between their potential and reality. On one side, you have absolute on-paper perfection. LeBron, Embiid, Maxey. That is arguably one of the most talented trios ever assembled. But on the other side, the medical 10. Joel Embiid is a generational force, for sure, but history tells us he might need to be kept in bubble wrap until May. The playoffs are a brutal war of attrition, and one badly timed rolled ankle can instantly unravel this entire masterpiece.
And while everyone is naturally hyper-focused on the massive star power of the veterans, the true ceiling of this team actually lies in the Maxey factor. Just imagine being Tyrese Maxey right now. With LeBron directing traffic and Embiid demanding relentless double teams in the paint, Maxey is going to have acres of open space. If he evolves into a true championship-level guard and exploits that space, the math on stopping this offense becomes almost impossible.
Which brings us to the ultimate million-dollar question for Philly. Can LeBron and Embiid actually survive the grueling 82-game gauntlet and a 2-month playoff run to win one final chapter? If they pull it off, it's an all-time sports story. But there's a massive wall of historical legacy standing directly in their way.
That brings us to archetype number 2, the heavy crown. Boston's burden of expectations. Unlike teams chasing their very first title, Boston is in a totally different boat. They carry this immense psychological burden of a franchise where anything less than a championship is considered an absolute failure. For years, the Celtics meticulously built one of the strongest foundations in all of basketball. They developed elite young stars like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They established a culture of suffocating defensive dominance, and they leaned heavily on their historical winning pedigree.
But the future of Boston rests squarely on Jason Tatum proving he can carry the immense responsibility of a championship franchise. If you've ever gotten a huge promotion at work where suddenly every single failure is your fault, then you understand Tatum's reality. Everyone knows he can score. Everyone knows he's wildly talented. But the NBA remembers one thing above all else, and that's rings. He now has to prove he can shoulder the massive responsibility of being the definitive face of a franchise when the lights are at their brightest.
This creates a compounding problem because the NBA changes incredibly fast. Step 1. The East just got substantially stronger virtually overnight. Step 2. Because of that, Boston's margin for error instantly shrinks. One bad shooting week, one mistimed injury, or even one bad defensive rotation, and Step 3 hits you hard, a championship window slamming shut right in front of your eyes.
This builds up some wild tension. It forces the Celtics to answer a really uncomfortable question. Are they still chasing the rest of the league, or is the rest of the league now hunting them? Because when you wear the crown, every single hungry, gritty challenger is coming for your throne, night after night.
And that perfectly sets up archetype number 3. The sleeping giant awakens. New York basketball returns.
The team hunting Boston, the absolute hardest right now, is an awakened monster stepping into the highest pressure market in the world. The entire transformation of this Knicks franchise really comes down to the Jalen Brunson effect. Brunson wasn't a lottery pick. He wasn't gifted with overwhelming size or blazing speed. He became the undisputed face of the franchise by injecting a tough, fearless, pressure-built leadership that perfectly mirrors the gritty identity of New York City itself.
What makes the Knicks so fascinating to watch is their championship formula. They aren't trying to copy Boston's wing dominance or Philly's superstar accumulation. No, they've built a very specific formula for the trenches. We're talking relentless, physical defense, strongly unified leadership, and weaponizing the absolutely deafening, hostile environment of their home arena. It's tough, playoff-style basketball explicitly designed to break opponents down.
But having a great formula is only half the battle. To actually reach the mountaintop, this gritty roster has to prove they can survive the unmatched, suffocating pressure of Madison Square Garden. The expectations in New York are uniquely heavy. Winning there requires way more than just talent. It requires absolute mental titanium.
Finally, we have archetype number 4, the looming threat, the Giannis question.
Because while New York rises up with its gritty culture and Philly gambles literally everything they have, Milwaukee faces a completely different kind of challenge. When your roster features a generational, physical anomaly like Giannis Antetokounmpo, the idea of a good regular season just doesn't exist. The only acceptable goal is winning, a parade. His mere presence on the court is a massive, undeniable wildcard that absolutely no one in the East can afford to ignore.
So let's pull all of this together. The real takeaway from this explainer is that the Eastern Conference is no longer just a basketball league. It's a literal battlefield of 4 very distinct, high-stakes philosophies. You've got Philadelphia's win-now-gamble on aging superstars, Boston's heavy crown of historical legacy, New York's gritty trench warfare, and Milwaukee's reliance on pure generational dominance.
The balance of power has completely shifted, and the margin for error is virtually zero right now. So as we watch this totally unprecedented season unfold, I want to leave you with this final thought. When the dust finally settles on this absolute bloodbath of a conference, which of these 4 philosophies will actually survive the gauntlet to rule the new NBA?